Then we just do, let's go. Okay, let's head to the girls. Okay, yeah.
Here, I got my camera. Your wife always wants to take pictures.
I know.
Stop.
She always stops. She don't keep up with the agenda.
And then the tour group leaves you, and
Okay,
she's
keep
still
walking.
trying to take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got one.
Better. Why you got
You stand over here. Okay.
Oh, just.
Ready to go?
What are you doing?
Picking on my jacket. It's too warm.
Oh, it's too warm.
Not too warm for you?
Okay. Everybody here. Please. Follow me, please.
Make sure those guys aren't going the wrong way. I know, because a lot of people are going up and we're not. I know.
Make sure you stay with the tour group, because another group is going up, but we're going down.
You can hold on to the railing, Jake.
Not unless I switch the camera to my other hand.
Da muss ich nicht unterschieden. Ich muss jetzt meinen Hut auf.
Nein, ich packe nicht so heiß.
Watch your head.
Oh, wow. This is what we're here to see.
Stand by for Estaba copiando. Está ahí, estaba copiando.
This is beautiful.
Hey, man, stand right there. Stand right there.
You want to take a picture?
Principal temples were built above of a natural rock formation. So this rock is part of the mountain. But inside they smooth this rock, making the principal altar of the city. Probably inside they were practicing these sacrifices.
How often did they do it?
No, we are not allowed to go inside. So, round building. Around here, they built 4 temples for these four natural elements. Fire, that will be represented by the sand. Mother Earth, which represents the earth. It's under. Later we will see it. Probably you saw like a cave.
Yeah.
So that is the temple of Mother Earth. So you can see part of the thatch roof. That is the temple of the wind. And nearby, there is a beautiful fountain, which is the temple of water. So 4 temples in honor of these 4 natural elements. What was the main activity of Incas? Farming. As a farmer, they should to know in which season they were. So they were working according constellations, but also according solstice and equinoxes. When the Spaniards come here, they told us that the Incas were having the 12 months, the 12, the calendar. But they were how they measure was according to the full moon. According to the full moon. How they knew that it was coming up the planting season? You can see that there are 2 windows, right? 2 windows. In the Inca time, these windows were working so perfect. Because by these windows, the sunlight it was passing through. It still continued, but not as a perfect like it was many years ago. So winter solstice, that for you is summer, the sunlight gonna pass through by that window. Summer solstice for you winter by the other window. So during the Inca times, the sunlight, let's imagine that is one of the windows. The sunlight, it was passing through right by the middle. But nowadays, it's passing through by one of these. What happened? No, the tectonic plates are pushing the mountain. Besides of that, every 25 years, the solstice is moving. Okay, not so much, but a little bit. So in the future, the sunlight will not pass through anymore by this. Okay? But in the Inca times, yes, we're working so. So they built solar observatories all over of the empire. So according to these solar observatories, they were working. So that this was the religious area. So for Hiram Bingham, the round building considered as a military tower, and the cave that later we are going to see, the royal tomb. Why? Because he found some Inca artifacts inside, and he thought that the body of the king was buried there, which is not true. Okay, that's where the temples, 4 temples. Questions?
Who did?
Watch your head, watch your head. Okay. Somebody was asking me if we are going to have a chance to see how the people were living. Well, this is considered the house of the highest priest. So on the first floor, the highest priest was living. And the second floor he was using in order to keep all the ceremonial ornaments. So where part of the group are was the bed. So and they put a lot. They were putting layers of sand. Also they were using grass in order to make the mattress very comfortable. So, but I see that we are seeing a different type of architecture. yes, the vegetation destroyed a little bit, it's damaged. But also when they were doing some excavations, so the terrain was not anymore compact. So part of the wall started sinking. So inside of this niche, depends where we are gonna be, or what kind of building was it. For example, in the regular houses, inside of these niches, the Incas were putting their flat screen TV, but on the second floor, where he was keeping all the ceremonial, also he was keeping the idols. So to make idols. So to make the second floor, they were using wood. Wood. Just on this case that they were using wood. The rest, they were working with stones. With stones. So this building has more than 600 years. Why the Inca buildings are supporting huge tremors? Because Peru is a seismic. So one of the reasons is the shape of the door, the shape of the niche. As you can see, it's trapezoid. Wider on the. So the wider makes more stable. But it was not the only one. Later I'm going to explain. Okay?
Was the ceiling always open?
The ceiling.
You need to show you it? Should you it? No. Just took the top there.
Oh, that's what they're used for.
Ah, there's your answer.
Yes.
The point is they work just on the old crops, and they've got rocks, and all you have to do is just carve it.
You know, in England they built fences that way. No, they built their fences out of rock. They have no more. All the rocks are just, and they last forever.
Where? Like in Ireland as well?
Yes, in Ireland.
Oops, sorry.
Incas families were not pretty large. Why? Because they were moving very often. Because they were in the process to expand the territory. So you notice that Machu Picchu is in the rainforest. The Incas could not, they couldn't expand it easily going to the east because the vegetation were not helping. And besides that, the wildlife. But in the jungle area developed another group, the Chachapoyas. The Chachapoyas were one of such a great group developed in the jungle. The Incas conquered. So that's to that area. So in this area, the Incas were trying to control the other groups who were at the other side of this mountains. So Machu Picchu was well protected. To get into of this city is not easy. We saw the drawbridge, right? The picture. So it's amazing how they built the drawbridge if the face of the mountain is like this. Not like this. And they started to build the foundation. Going to raise it up. And they make a big space where they put wood. So when they were in emergency, they take off the wood. And the enemies were not able to pass through. To the Sun Gate, 10 minutes more. Going down, there is another. It's not a bridge. Steep steps like this, narrow. So one of the weapons that the Incas were using in order to control the enemy was the slingshots. So, and the projectile of those slingshots were made with hematite, meteoric rock, which has 70% fire. They were so good with slingshots.
Didn't they have all of those?
Also, but it depends of the area.
Yeah, with the Y and.
In the jungle area, yes, they were having. But here, basically, with slingshots, with claws. So in some times, they were fighting. But basically, how the Incas were conquered the other groups were in the peaceful way, taking advantage that they were having a plenty of food. So they took advantage of the location. This area, the whole Cusco area, has a plenty of water because it's located between two ranges of mountains. For example, the natural spring that the Incas founded around here comes from one of the glacier mountains, Salcantay Mountain. So what the Incas did first, before that they started to build cities, they should to know if the area gonna have plenty of water. No water, no life. Right?
And this water is here not salty at all. It's from the glaciers.
From the glacier. So, well, it's a huge glacier mountain. And the Incas explored the area and they found a natural spring. Many years later, after that this was rediscovered, geologists, archaeologists went to explore the area, trying to know from where the water is coming. Once that they found this natural spring, they were continuing exploring the area, and finally they figured out that, well, the glacial mountain is supplying water for that natural spring. So that means this area will continue having water for many years. So not just Machu Picchu, the rest of the cities. So what the Incas were doing, they did a good planification. They should to know, first of all, if the area gonna have water and if the area gonna be safe. Nowadays, we don't care. We don't mind where we are gonna build our home, right? But in this case, during those years, not important. So rainfall is pretty high. El Nino comes every 10 years, every 12 years. Do you think that any Inca archaeological sites are affected? No. But the new village are affected. Why? Because we are not doing a good planification. So how they prevent flooding? They channelize the river. So if you see, later you're going to see much clearer, my friend, that Machu Picchu is here, right? Machu Picchu, and the Urubamba River is surrounded. Natural defense. So some trails were following the Urubamba River. What they did it, they start to channelize it. Bring it to the left, to the right, to the left. In a very strategic location, they built checkpoints or lookout points. Well protected. Questions?
So no one ever conquered Machu Picchu?
No. No. Was abandoned. Spaniards never ever arrived here. Fortunately.
Too bad. They could have killed them. Why did they abandon it?
Why they abandoned? To protect the city from the Spaniards. Because the Spaniards arrived to Cusco and they started to destroy the city. They melt the idols, were made by gold, silver. So to each Inca city that the Spaniards were arriving, they were destroyed. So beside Cusco, this was another important city. So that is why they abandoned it. Obviously, when Hiram Bingham rediscovered this, one of the hypotheses why the Incas abandoned this was because they were getting the syphilis, yellow fever. But George Eaton, who was one of the osteology who came in 1912 with Hiram Bingham, he did a lot of research about the Inca bombs because he was osteology. And he didn't find any of those illnesses that Hiram Bingham mentioned.
So no bodies were ever found here?
No, were found. So not too much, but yes, they found 164 mummies.
But they were mummified. They weren't like.
Not necessarily. Well, the mummies that they were having, basically they were keeping in Cusco, the main temple. And people, the other people were buried in the natural caves. So why Hiram Bingham thought that this was a convent? Because most of the mummies that George Eaton found with him, so the skull was having another kind of shape, conical shape. Okay, so that means how this city was built for the higher class people. So the ladies who were delivering babies, the higher class. So once that the baby was delivering, they started to do the deformation of their head in order to make the difference, the higher class with the lower class. So most of the mummies that he found here were having this shape. Cone shape.
Where did they go after they abandoned here? Do we know?
They went in different directions.
Were the Spanish aware of Machu Picchu?
Well, it's a good question. Cusco, let's imagine if Cusco is here, right? Machu Picchu is by here, and Vilcabamba is by here. So Manco Inca started the revolution in Cusco. Unfortunately, he was not successful. So he retreated into of the Sacred Valley. You remember Ollantaytambo? Ollantaytambo, where this morning we took the train. So driving takes 10 or 15 minutes more, following the Urubamba River, and then there is another valley coming this way. So that means behind of these mountains. So Manco Inca took the longest way. And the Spaniards were following him, taking the longest way too. And finally they arrived in Vilcabamba. So for Manco Inca could be easy to take the shortcut. If he decided to do that, probably the Spaniards could have arrived here. But the idea was to protect this. So Hiram Bingham was planning to take the longest way too. But fortunately for him that the local people suggested to take the shortcut. Otherwise, Machu Picchu must be hiding many years more.
Found by you.
Yeah, I like to
Be famous.
look at treasures. Okay, vámonos. Chisel. Yeah, but how they make the chisel, with which material?
500 AD.
Do you know obsidian?
Yes, volcanic.
The obsidian they were using as a chisel.
Ah,
So in order to start to chisel it, they shoot it. They shoot it to find a natural crack that the rock has. Taking advantage of this, they started to chisel. So they make holes, and then they put wood. They wet the wood. What happened? It snaps. Oops, sorry. It's my fault. So this is one of the way how they split it. The other way is like percussion, using as a hammer stone the hematite. So the pre-work of the stone, they were doing the quarry. So once that they split the rock, they started to smooth. The final work where they were built. So there is an example how the Incas split the rock on this. These holes were made by one professor of Cusco University. His name Manuel Chavez Bandon. He was trying to show our passengers the way how they split it. So how they move the rock, it was explained to you using rolling logs, gravel stones. They make ropes, wild grass. They braid the wild grass, very thick. They were pulled using llama fats. So archaeologists were doing excavations where they found several idols. But in one of the idols that they found was having the shape of a trolley, tiny trolley. That trolley was having a regular wheel. So that means the Incas knew the regular wheel, but they didn't put in practice. Why they did not put in practice? Because the topography, the geography, were not helping them. So what they were using basically were rams, gravel stones, ropes. I mean, some sections rolling ropes. Okay? Questions? No questions. Let's continue. Moya or castor apple, some bromelias, begonias, some begonias. So angel trumpet or datura. Over there we're going to see some orchids. This way,
You were hiding. Look. Come on, just hurry up.
the yellow So that one is an orchid also. No? That is an orchid. The one which is dry is an orchid. The leon. So the tiny yellow orchid is in the family of Epidendrum. So in this family we have 21 different varieties of Epidendrum. Between yellow, red, purple, green, and white. Have you seen before coca plantation? If you didn't, now you can see. Huh? That is the coca bush plantation. That is the way how the coca grows.
I thought it was brown and dried up. The way I bought it.
So I was ready to sell.
Yeah. Thanks for hiking too.
We can see here another room which has 3 windows. 3 windows. So the Incas were not perfect. They did some mistakes, but they were looking for perfection. So at the beginning, they were planning to build this building with 5 windows. But unfortunately, this one, which is locked now, doesn't have the same symmetry than the other one. So this one is much bigger. So what they did they locked 2 and they left 3. And then they carved the shape of the Chacana or Inca cross. When Hiram Bingham found this room, he called it as the Temple of 3 Windows. Why the Temple of 3 Windows?
Should we turn on the flash?
Because there is a legend about the first Incas. The first Incas come from 3 different caves. Just one was successful to found Cusco City. He got this information, this legend, and he found 3 windows. These must represent the 3 caves where the 3 brothers came from. Come here, please. But the real name is Chacana. And this symbol has a lot of meaning with this. A lot of meaning. In Rakji, which is the temple of Huiracocha, we will see this symbol also. I am going to explain to you, and if you are going to pass a test, I can give you the whole information, because I need to make a copy, a photocopy, in order to give it to you. So, here, my friends, I'm going to show you that Machu Picchu was not finished at all. If not, see this and compare with the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's one of the examples. See this? They were smooth. Always principal temples, and the stones of the walls were well smooth. So they were on the way to smooth. And temples were covered with gold or silver plates. So few evidence why the archaeologists are telling us that Machu Picchu was not finished at all. Okay? Let's talk here, please. My friends, here is where the group gonna start to split. Who? Okay, gate 1, please this way.
This way.
Idea, the mortar should be concave, curved,
His and
but
hers?
it's flat. It's flat, tortilla or pizza. So these were mirrors, water mirrors that the Incas were using for one purpose:
To see themselves.
solar eclipse.
Oh.
In order to watch.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Beside of that, they were using this for constellations, using the reflection. So this idea, the Incas absorbed from Nazcas. The Nazcas were one of the group who were learning about.
Nazca lines.
So this was the function of this.
That's awesome.
The function of the group. So mirror water. And beside that, they were learning about constellations here. So the rest of the building was the school, where they were learning about accounting system. You've been with Hernando at the museum.
Yeah.
You saw the keepers, the counting system, the rocks with different colors, where they make knots Some
Oh,
rocks.
I don't think he showed us that.
He should.
No, when we
Lima.
went to Lima,
In Lima.
walking in the catacombs. The catacombs.
No.
But we-
The optional museum. The optional.
Oh, the optional. Oh, we didn't
The
go
optional.
there. We didn't go to optional.
So friends who were with him, so he showed the accounting system. So by here is where they were learning